From the ashes of the Pacific War, a new Philippine Republic has risen. However, this feat came at a very unlikely, if not unfavorable time. The country was profoundly destroyed, both in the physical and the emotional sense. Buildings, houses, and other public works had been reduced to rubble while thousands of lives were prematurely ended by the war and its atrocities. Families were broken and a collective trauma among the populace was rather apparent. The enthusiasm for self-rule was replaced by anxiety caused by an uncertain future for the country. With a nation extensively damaged, where would rebuilding begin? How would the deep wounds inflicted by the war heal? Should the alleged war crime perpetrators and collaborators be punished or forgiven? Such questions were the Filipinos had to confront during the early years of the post-war period. Good day everyone. This is Mr. J. de los Santos, and for this lecture, I will present the contemporary Philippines from 1946 to post-martial law. Before the lecture begins, ready yourself, your pen and paper for note-taking. Okay? Are you ready? If yes, then let's get started. The Roxas Administration 1946–48. Philippine sovereignty was finally recognized with Manuel Roxas as the President of the Third Republic of the Philippines. On July 4, 1946, High Commissioner Paul McNutt read the proclamation, announcing to the world the withdrawal of American sovereignty and the recognition of the independence of the Philippines. Following the President's inaugural address was the public signing of the U.S.-Philippine Treaty of General Relations. Based on this treaty, the United States withdrew and surrendered all rights of supervision, control or sovereignty over the Philippines. Likewise, the United States would represent the interests of the Philippines in countries where there is no Philippine representation, pending the establishment of Philippine diplomatic service abroad. The political system of the Philippines was basically patterned after the U.S. with a bicameral legislature and a president elected every 4 years, limited to one re-election only. However, it should be noted that, impoverished and without the capacity to reconstruct itself after World War, sad to say, but Philippines had to accept U.S. aid financial help with a lot of strings attached. In leading a cash-starved government that needed to attend a battered nation, President Roxas campaigned for the parity amendment to the 1935 Constitution. Through the Philippine Trade Relations Act or the Bell Trade Act, this would give American citizens and industries the right to utilize the country's natural resources in return for rehabilitation support from the United States. In addition, American citizens and corporations enjoyed the right to acquire land of the public domain, right to acquire grazing, fishing and mining rights, and the right to engage in the ownership and operation of public utilities. Also, the approval of the amendment had provided the Philippines with $620 million in war damage compensation, through the Philippine War Damage Commission. A major initiative arising from preliminary wartime discussions about the future security of the Philippines was the U.S.-Philippine Military Bases Agreement of 1947, which gave the United States the right to retain the use of 16 bases, free of rent, with the option to use 7 more for a term of 99 years. With the parity rights to Americans to exploit the country's resources, U.S. military and naval bases on Philippine territory, and a number of defense and trade arrangements. How could the country be called sovereign or independent with all these economic and political strangleholds? This became a recurring problem of all presidents, from President Roxas to Quirino, Garcia, Magsaysay, Macapagal and Marcos. On the other hand, in an effort to solve the massive socio-economic problems of the period, President Roxas reorganized the government and proposed a wide-sweeping legislative program. Among the undertakings of the Third Republic's initial year were the establishment of the Rehabilitation Finance Corporation, which would be reorganized in 1958 as the Development Bank of the Philippines, the creation of the Department of Foreign Affairs and the organization of the Foreign Service, and the revision of taxation laws to increase government revenues. Also, President Roxas moved to strengthen sovereignty by proposing a central bank for the Philippines to administer the Philippine banking system. The Roxas administration also pioneered the foreign policy of the Republic. With this, Vice President Elpidio Quirino was appointed Secretary of Foreign Affairs. General Carlos P. Romulo, as permanent representative of the Philippines to the United Nations, helped shape the country's international identity in the newly established stage for international diplomacy and relations. Philippines also established diplomatic ties with foreign countries and gained membership to international entities, such as the United Nations General Assembly, the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization or UNESCO, the World Health Organization (WHO), the International Labour Organization (ILO). However, on April 15, 1948, following a speech before an audience of assembled airmen at Clark Field Air Base, President Roxas died of a heart attack. This led Vice President Elpidio Quirino to assume the presidency on April 17, 1948. The Quirino Administration 1948–53. Vice President Elpidio Quirino took his oath of office as President of the Philippines, serving the unexpired term of the late President Roxas. His first official act was the proclamation of a state of mourning throughout the country for the former chief executive. President Elpidio Quirino's goal revolved around strengthening the people's confidence in the government and the restoration of peace. In order to achieve these, he traveled around the country to inspect firsthand the condition of the nation. President Quirino established the Action Committee on Social Amelioration in order to efficiently promote the welfare of citizens in the rural districts. He also established the Social Security Study Commission to investigate socio-economic problems of the working class and formulate legislation developing social welfare. The Labor Management Advisory Board formulated labor policies and conducted studies on the ways and means of preventing, minimizing, and reconciling labor disputes. The Agricultural Credit and Cooperative Financing Administration assisted farmers in securing credit as well as developing cooperative associations to efficiently market their agricultural commodities. The Quirino administration reached out to the leaders and members of Hukbo ng Bayan Laban sa Hapon (HUKBALAHAP) and the Pambansang Kaisahan ng Mga Magbubukid (PKM) to negotiate peace and put an end to the insurgency. In 1948, through Proclamation No. 76, the government granted amnesty to the insurgents that surrendered arms. The negotiation failed to persuade HUKBALAHAP leader Luis Taruc and other rebel leaders, as they conceded to register but never disarm. From 1950 to 1953, Secretary of National Defense Ramon Magsaysay and President Quirino exerted efforts in reforming the nation's armed forces and promoting welfare of citizens in the rural areas through the Economic Development Corps (EDCOR) and Land Settlement and Development Corporation (LASEDECO). This resulted to a considerable improvement to the country's insurgency problem. There were over 25,000 armed communists in early 1950, two-thirds of which had either been captured, killed, or had voluntarily surrendered. An estimated 60,000 firearms were surrendered or captured. The Quirino administration came to a close in the presidential elections of 1953. It was a battle between incumbent Liberal Party of President Elpidio Quirino against the charismatic Nacionalista candidate Ramon Magsaysay. It was a landslide victory for Ramon Magsaysay.